Alrighty, everybody, it is currently Monday, May 19th, 2025, and I've got some news. I got some news that may be a joy to some and a complete heartbreak to others. It's the type of joy to some that fills their heart, penetrates their heart, and then spreads throughout their whole body, every fiber of their soul screaming with happiness. But for others, the racists, the anti Semites, the general bigots out there, the retarded, those who can't form a thought for themselves and can't even, understand the thoughts of others, I may never tell another joke again. It just may never happen. And yesterday, a woman had a mental breakdown at a Mexican restaurant I was at with my family. It was my grandpa, and a couple of my sisters, and we were there at this Mexican restaurant. And this lady had a mental breakdown. Clearly some kind of mental illness, coming to fruition, exposing itself to the world. I mean, because she was screaming. This was the type of screaming that, like, you're screaming so hard, like, not a lot of noise is coming out, that type of screaming. Like when your dog dies, or when something really bad happens to you and you cry so hard that you're just like that type of beat. Like the fucking raccoon in Guardians of the Galaxy when his mom dies, which I almost cried at that. I did almost cry, but that's just because I was with my mom and I was like, what if my mom died? I'd be so sad too. If my mommy died, I'd probably cry too. And that's how hard this lady was screaming, just full on, like, in her, you could tell this was a screaming lady. Like, this was the type of lady, she screams a fair bit because she had a hoarse voice, almost like an RFK type of voice. And she was at this Mexican restaurant and just started screaming at, I don't even know, at no one maybe. There was this table behind us, and she like went up to the table and like screamed at it and like fucking slammed their fists on the table like Chris Benoit. I swear to God, there was some kind of WWE theme song playing in this woman's mind because she was fucking ready to rumble. You know what I mean? Bruce Buffer came in. She said, "Schizophrenic lady in a Mexican restaurant. Are you ready to rumble?" I mean, it was intense, and she was just screaming at this fucking table, like slamming her fist, throwing shit. And then I'm pretty sure she made a beeline out the door. I'm pretty sure she just sprinted straight out of the door. And the cops were there almost immediately. The cops must have knew. They were like, this is the fucking Mexican restaurant where schizophrenics hang out at. And she was fucking going crazy, just screaming and shit. And I went on a run of telling jokes that I swear to God, I was like Dave Chappelle. Like everyone at the table was looking at me. I had a few misses. Obviously, I had a few misses in there. And, my grandpa's wife, I think she still works at a hospital, but she used to be like a nurse or something like that. And so she's a little more sensitive to those type of things. Not me, dude. That was full on. That lady must have got the wrong type of tequila, all that type of shit. And it wasn't just that. That was like the catalyst. After that, everything someone said I had a joke to, most of them landed. A few a few misses in there, a few good misses. But hey, hitters hit, dude. Swingers swing. Pause. But and this lady and fucking she had a full on mental breakdown and was like, what was it? Like, was she arguing with someone? Is she just like out of her mind, schizophrenic? Our waiter, this dude was so fucking funny. He was like a quiet, like Mexican dude. He had like the Mexican stash and everything. He he like talked to our table a little bit, but there was this other table there that he must have known these people because he literally like pulled up a chair to their table to fucking talk about how crazy this lady was. And he talked to our table and he was like, yeah, earlier in the day she like came in with a bunch of trash bags and she was like almost naked and she's just fucking crazy. Like she's always here like being crazy, but like not that crazy. You know what I mean? She's not ready to rumble, dude. She was just trying to get the belt. She was just trying to get the belt from John Cena. That's all that was. That was just like the one instance where she went like batshit crazy. He was like, yeah, she came in, she was like almost naked earlier today. And then he just left. And then he came back and we were like, what the fuck do you mean by almost naked? Apparently she came in with just like a bra and a towel on. And they just let her, hey man, she's a fucking paying customer. The customer's always right. She thought she was at the beach. She was like, I'm gonna put on my hula skirt and my coconut bra and I'm gonna go to the beach. Gonna go to the Mexican restaurant. Turns out she was on meth. Yeah, she was on meth when the cops, like, they arrested her and they were like, oh yeah, this lady's clearly on meth. And so I'm surprised nothing else happened. There was this fucking huge dude, I swear to God, like a fucking gorilla. Gigantic dude. I mean, I swear to, like, solid build, like not like super jacked or like leaner, like not like a bodybuilder, but like a power lifter, dude. Like a gorilla. Like his legs weren't huge, but his upper body was just fucking massive. And when she was like getting ready to rumble, She was literally like 2 feet, like right behind, not even 2 feet, maybe like a foot fucking behind me. Like she must have like thrown a cup, like she slammed a cup against the wall or something, and like my sister got all wet. Pause. Pause. But this dude, this so I was like kind of turning around, like, what the fuck is this lady doing? And this guy, this fucking gorilla stood up, and he's like so jacked already that it kind of looks like he was like puffing out his chest. He was just fucking huge, dude. And I was like, God damn, he's getting ready to beat some ass. But then she made her way out of the fucking restaurant, and all the little Mexicans, all the little Speedy Gonzaleses were running around with their walkie-talkies, like, just trying to be like, let's get the fucking cops here to arrest this lady. And yeah, it was funny as hell. It was very funny. Even when she was doing it, I was like, this is clearly just because I could tell just by the way she was screaming. I never saw the lady, by the way. I never because she was literally like right behind me. I would have had to like fully turn around and like stand up in the booth, and I'm not doing that, dude. That's like looking a fucking chimpanzee in the eyes. That's like beating your chest at a fucking silverback. I was not gonna do that. And so I was just like kind of like I never saw the lady. I don't know if she was still naked. I might have come a little bit because I haven't jerked off in 2 days. So I might have came a little bit if I saw a naked schizophrenic lady who was clearly overweight and probably 70 years old throwing shit around the fucking Mexican restaurant. But yeah, she was getting ready to rumble. She was getting ready to fight. I'm surprised she didn't swing on anyone. I mean, props to her. She just threw a few cups around. She was just having a little fun. You know what I mean? Guys aren't allowed to get angry anymore. And this was at first I was like, is she arguing with someone? And then I was like, there's no one at the table behind us. Who the fuck is she arguing with? She was just going white boy crazy. You know what I mean? She couldn't handle the white boy spirit. I was there and she was like she was so horny. She couldn't help herself. That's what it was. She saw my 5'5", slightly overweight ass walk in and she's like, God damn, I need some of that. I can't have it though. So now I gotta throw cups at the wall. She was I mean, and you could tell by the way she was screaming, like her voice was like this was coming from the soul. You know what I mean? This was a soulful type of scream, just throwing shit around, having a grand old time. It must have been a little bit fun for her, at least just a little bit, just to get the fucking. Because when you're on meth, you're hyped all the way up, right? Like that's what meth does to you. It just gets you fucking jacked. You know, just get yoinked out on gack chicken or whatever the fuck, whatever the fuck they get all getting high on meth. But she was just going fucking insane, dude. And I was like, damn, that must feel just like a little bit good, just a little bit good to just be, just throw fucking a margarita glass at a Mexican restaurant. And my grandpa, he drinks beer. He probably drinks like 4 or 5 beers a day, and he's just like immune to it. So he always orders a beer wherever he goes. But he had like a nice heavy glass, and I was like, damn, dude, Gramps could have fucking he could have got one in on her, dude. He could have, hit the fucking chair on the head if this was a WWE match, That big old gorilla dude could have tagged him in and he could just, watch out, boom, hit her with the fucking glass. But, I mean, and my grandpa, I've told this story before, he just attracts negative people at restaurants. He was at a restaurant before where there was a hostage situation and he just left. A guy came in with a gun and he was like freaking the fuck out and like his ex-girlfriend was there when my grandpa was at the restaurant. This wasn't the schizophrenic lady, but this guy came in and it was at a fucking Perkins, dude. Perkins is always doing hog wild shit. Perkins is a pretty unassuming restaurant. It's like a nice family diner where you can get a slice of apple pie and it's like, no, dude, shit's always going down at Perkins, dude. Either Tiger Woods is fucking a waitress or my grandpa's in a hostage situation. But that there was a hostage situation. He just walked up and left. He was just like, "No, I'm not. I'm not dealing with this, dude." That's like the boomer attitude. The boomer attitude of just no one's gonna fucking touch me, dude. I'm just gonna walk out of here and nothing's gonna happen. But I mean, and schizophrenics in Kansas City, if you don't know, they've been going hog wild lately. This lady in an ambulance. So this lady was walking down the side of the road. This happened fucking I wasn't anywhere near it. It was like up in Kansas City, like a little further from where I live. She was just like walking down the road, just like doing schizophrenic shit. You know what I mean? Like tweaking her head to the side, jerking around a little bit, probably talking to herself a little bit, just having a good schizophrenic time, just a nice schizophrenic walk down the side of the highway. And the cops were like, this lady's clearly out of her mind. She's probably going to try to kill herself or something. And so they pulled her over to a restaurant and they were like, oh, she's fucking insane. And so they got like an ambulance there. And I don't know what the fuck. I guess they just threw this lady in the back of an ambulance. They didn't like handcuff her to the thing like they're supposed to. Because she got like a pair of scissors and stabbed this dude directly in the heart. Directly in the fucking heart. It was like this big story. And she was a black lady, right? And people are using it because the kid that she killed was like 27 years old. There's like a young guy, and he was like a firefighter or like an EMT firefighter type of guy that was in the back of the ambulance with her, and people are using it to be like, see, black people, they're just inherently violent. And I'm like, no, that's just a schizophrenic lady. The fuck are you talking about? The fuck are you talking about? No, I think schizophrenics are just insane and try to kill people. But she did get him directly in the heart with like a pair of scissors, which that's like a tough, even with like those thick like steel medical scissors, that's still a fucking, she went through the ribs, dude. She went through the fucking ribs, got this guy right in the heart. That lady should just be a gladiator. That's what we should do. Like all these meth people, all like these insane schizophrenics that are constantly fighting everyone, just put them in a gladiatorial ring and just have them, because because you put like a normal guy, you put like a pedophile in like a gladiator ring, he's just gonna be like, oh, don't kill me, don't kill the schizophrenics, the fucking meth heads, dude. They're gonna be going hog wild against each other. They're gonna be full on swinging, dude. It's just gonna be, they might throw down the weapons and just go, "Rrr," just sprinting at each other. Is that the fucking cat, dude? That scared the shit out of me. I'm at my friend's place recording right now. He has a cat. Yeah. Okay, that is the cat. What's up, Mr. Kitty? Yeah, I'm at my friend's place right now because I'm scrapping copper wire for my summer job. This Target won't hire me. I applied at like four jobs and none of them. Target at least got back to me, but there's no way they read my resume and application because they just immediately got back and they were like, no. That cat opening the door scared the fuck out of me, dude. My heart is beating out of my chest. Hey, Mr. Kitty. At least I have a cat here. You know, I would rather have a dog here in this type of neighborhood, but I mean, a cat, it's all you can get if it's all you can get. But today's episode is obviously about snake oil. You know, meth is kind of a snake oil. Kind of a little bit, but not really, because meth, people are straight up about what meth is going to do to you. They're going to be like, dude, you're going to go fucking insane. You're going to experience psychosis, you know? At least they're honest about meth. And that just shows how much meth rules. Like everyone being like, oh, I would never do that. And it's like, dude, you do that one time by like accident, you're going to get hooked on it. It just rules so much that people are like, yeah, I don't care if I go insane, dude. You know how fun it is? I can stay up for a week straight. But what are you doing for that week, really? What are you doing up for a week straight? I can't think, especially if you're on meth, like you live in a trailer. The fuck are you just having bonfires for a week? That does sound a little bit fun. Just having bonfire. I swear to God, this cat's gonna jump up here. Oh no, he's not. He's just gonna stretch. I think if I pet him out, it'll keep him satiated. But today's episode is about snake oil. It's just one of those things that you hear about a lot. And like, I don't even know. Apparently, snakes do make oil. I thought it was just like completely made up because you don't think of reptiles of having like a lot of fat on them, right? Like, I feel like reptiles as a whole, I swear to God, if this cat turns off the recording, I'm going to kill him. Get the fuck off the computer, dude. He just wants to be the center of attention. Oh, he just made a clip? Thanks for making the clip, Mr. Kitty. He's trying to make me go viral. He's my marketing manager, actually. He's a good, solid guy, you know what I mean? He's got a degree from Kansas State. He's got a marketing degree from Kansas State. He knows what's up. But snake oil, you know, you think of reptiles like an alligator. I don't think of an alligator as like an animal with a whole ton of fat on it, right? Like a pig. If they were selling pig oil, I'd be like, all right, oil does oil does come from pigs. You know what I mean? A pig, it's got a fair amount of fat on it. And now the cat's just staring at, dude, this cat is trying to scare me as much as he can right now. I'm gonna try to pick him up with one hand and gently set him down on this pile of Pokemon cards. It's a hoarder house right now. Obviously, there's a ton of scrap copper wire here, so you can imagine what the house looks like. But snake oil. All right, snake oil. Snake oil was used as a traditional medicine in China for like centuries, right? Before it came to the US and like the Old West and like dudes with big ass mustaches and top hats were selling it. And so they had it there. They're always using like the most inefficient parts of the animals, right? Like another thing they have is like bear gallbladder. They have like these bears in these cages and they do like a saw fucking like torture thing to them where they like hook up like a tube directly to their gallbladder so that they can like pump it out while they're still alive. Dude, it's like how in Scotland they make like blood sausage or black sausage or whatever. And the way they do it is that they cut the cow's throat a little bit or like whatever they use to make the sausage. And then they just like they don't use like a fucking like an IV or like a syringe to get the blood out. They just like fucking cut a hole in the cow, let it bleed for a little bit, and then they just like I guess patch it up. Which is, I mean, I don't know how they were doing that because they've been doing that shit since like the fucking 1200s. So they got that shit really figured out. But I mean, China's doing it too. They're using rhino toenails, all all kinds of shit like that. Like Chinese like traditional medicine has led to the extinction of probably half of the species on Earth. Like everyone talks about like global warming or pollution. No, it's just the Chinese munching on fucking, you know, bat teeth or whatever the fuck they're doing to cure AIDS. Like that's what they're doing over in China. China's either like biomedical shit that's like so advanced that it's like unethical or traditional stuff that makes absolutely no sense. Like alligator scales or whatever the fuck they're doing. Alligator eyes. It's an alligator eye. Alligator eye making no sick no more. But snake oil was a traditional thing that they used over there as a medicine. In China, it was used to treat joint pain and arthritis, which like when I read that, I was like, this is like some like old Native American shit where it's like you eat the heart of a buffalo and you become big and strong like a buffalo. And I imagine like what they saw, they were like, look at how like smooth and like slithery that little snake is, dude. And they were like, I think if I eat that thing, then my joints will also be like smooth and slithery like a snake. Like that's how I imagined that they came up with that. This fucking cat just jumped up here again. I swear to God, I'm gonna beat his ass. But I do think that's how they came up with that. They were like, rhino horn to make it strong. A rhino a strong animal. You eat a horn to make it damn strong. So I think that's how they came up with this traditional medicine. They were like, what does this animal look like? This is a strong animal. So if I eat this animal, then I'm gonna be strong too, which is a solid. We're reverting back to that, like people being like, I only eat bison liver, I only eat elk and bison liver or whatever, like the Joe Rogan type of people that are doing that shit. They're reverting back to the old Chinese medicine days. I gotta move my phone. This fucking cat is gonna piss me off, dude. I might turn Chinese. I might become Chinese and barbecue this dude. I might light this dude on fire and eat him up. I'm petting him and he's still acting like a fucking asshole. What do you need from me? Hmm? This is why it's I've kind of accepted being an incel because this is what I imagine a woman's like, you know? It's basically just a cat. It's like, why the fuck are you bothering me? I'm trying to record a podcast, babe. You don't understand. I need to record it. I need to get the word out to these people about snake oil and schizophrenics at Mexican restaurants. And so, yeah, they were munching on the snake oil, and yeah, it is believed that the oil was like introduced to like the American Old West, because like that's what you imagine it as, by Chinese railroad workers. And if you don't know, the Chinese, they used Chinese people and Irish people to build all the railroads in the Old West, and a lot of them were Chinese. Like Idaho used to be like 30% Chinese back in the day. I think the first Chinese restaurants in America were in like Montana and Idaho and like these old West like cowboy places where they were making these railroads at. And so they think it was like, you're banging on a hammer all day, John Henry type shit, fucking putting railroad ties into the ground. They think that like those people like developed a lot of joint pain from that. I mean, obviously. And so they started munching on snake oil the whole time because they were like, a bone hurt. I kind of bend my finger. My finger hurts so much. I must eat a snake. And so they think that's how it was introduced to the Old West. Like all these people, all their joints got fucked up, right? Like lower back, shoulders, like everything. Everything got fucked up, or they just got blown up by dynamite. That was the other, like a ton of them. That's why they used Chinese and Irish because they were like, no one, the slaves were too busy picking cotton, obviously in the South, and so they're like, okay, we can't use these people. They were like, who else is like no one care about? The Irish and the Chinese. So a lot of them did get, I mean, blown the fuck up, like smithereens. Like there was no safety standards back then. They were just lighting that shit on fire and be like, y'all get out of here, run from the dynamite. And so a lot of them got blown the fuck up. So it was either arthritis or get blown the fuck. And now this cat's licking his crotch in front of me. This cat is a freak, by the way. I got a I got a fun fact about this cat. He's got a foot fetish, and I can appreciate a little bit of foot stuff here and there, like a nice like when the two lesbians are scissoring and one of them licks the other one. I can appreciate that. I can understand that and I can enjoy that. But I'm not a big foot guy. This cat, on the other hand, he is a big foot guy. And I wonder if you can get arthritis of the feet. You know, if you got if you're giving a whole ton of foot jobs, you might, just spreading those toes all day on your OnlyFans so you can get $300 a month. You might get arthritis. That might be like a thing where that might be like a new phenomenon, right? Like it's gonna be the cigarettes of our day is women spreading their feet on on OnlyFans to get money, and now 20 years from now they're all gonna have arthritis from spreading those little piggies for the gooners to enjoy. But I don't know. Traditional Chinese snake oil is made from Chinese water snakes who have high levels of omega-3 acids. It said like per like pound or whatever. Like you've heard of like fish oil, right? Like salmon oil, cod oil, whatever. That that has omega-3 fatty acids, but this has more apparently. I guess like per pound or like per harvestable pound of meat or like pound of lard or whatever. What do you what do you call snake fat? Because lard is pig and tallow is beef. So I don't know what you call snake fat. You know, I might have to come up with a word for that. Sfat. That might be just combine snake and fat, call it sfat. But they have a ton of omega-3 fatty acids in them, which does help with joint pain. I did look it up because I was like, does that really help with joint pain? It does. So they did figure it out, but that's one of their very few hits. Like the Chinese traditional medicine does not have a lot of hits. Like they use rhino horn as like Viagra, which just doesn't. They're like, oh, a rhino horn is very hard. It'll horn you get hard. So that's how they came up with that one. So they've got a lot of misses, a ton of misses in the Chinese traditional medicine. This one was a hit though. They did figure this one out a little bit. It does help like relieve joint pain. It doesn't really like cure it or any, but they don't have a cure for it. So they kind of think this one was a hit. You got to give them their props where it's due. You know, if you never give them their props where it's due, they're just going to keep doing their thing. But if you're like, no, the snake oil works, that other shit doesn't work, then they'll be like, okay, that other shit doesn't work. Like at least this guy, because if you're like none of it works, right? Like not even the snake oil, they're just going to keep doing the whole thing because they're like, oh, this asshole just doesn't believe in us. But if you're like that one thing works, but the rest of it doesn't work, they'll be like, okay, well that's just science. And so God damn it, dude, this fucking cat. I swear to God, if he ends the recording, I'm going to kill him. But, and so snake oil in China was made from these water snakes. And snake oil in America, though, was made from rattlesnakes, which do not have like a lot of fat on them. You know, they're rattlesnakes, they're desert creatures. They don't got a ton of fat on them. They don't get the time to get fat, all right? They're too busy building railroads and biting cowboys and shit. So they don't have time for all that. And I was do like is it like a sea creature thing, like a water creature thing? Because they said like the way they make the oil is from water snakes, and then the other things that have a lot of omega-3 oils in them are like salmon and fucking cod and shit like that. Like sea creatures, like shit that lives in the water. So I got to imagine like something about living in the water gives you a whole ton of omega-3s. And now the cat is sitting on my notebook, dude. He doesn't want me to spread the good word, dude. The good word of he's scared. He's like, dude, if people start adopting the Chinese cultural point of view, I'm fucked. So he doesn't want me to spread the good word of snake oil. And now he's fully laying on it. I can't see it at all. I might have to kick his ass out, dude. You might have to get evicted. I might just let him go in the streets. So a study found though that Erebo sea snake oil helped mice learn mazes quicker and helped their swimming endurance. And they tested this against like normal like pig fat because it might have just been like a fat thing because your brain has like a ton of like fatty acids and shit like that. I don't really know what the brain is. They're like the brain's made out of gray and white matter. It's like just simplify it for me. We're talking about matter and shit. This isn't a fucking physics class. Just tell me how the fucking brain works. But I guess if you eat a sea snake, then you swim quicker. So maybe the Chinese and the Native Americans are onto something. Maybe Joe Rogan eating that elk all the time. Maybe he's onto something with that one. Maybe he figured it out a little bit. But and so yeah, snake oil. It could be a thing. I guess the scientists, this might have been in the woke days when they were like, every culture is right about what they say in a way. And so they were just trying to like prove that. This might have been like a woke study. So who knows? Who knows if they were right or not? And apparently there were no regulations on drugs in America until 1906. Dude, Old West days. If they had meth in the Old West days, we'd have railroads covering every single fucking inch of like the entirety of the country would just be railroads if they had meth back in the day, but they didn't. And they didn't have any regulations until 1906. And the reason that they started putting regulations on food and drugs and shit like that, because that was the 1906, it was like the Clean Food and Drug Act. Like that's what was passed. The reason that they did that, the reason that like was passed was because I think it was Teddy Roosevelt. It might have been another president. I'm pretty sure it was Teddy Roosevelt. Read this book called The Jungle by Upton Sinclair. And this is like if you've ever heard the term like this how the sausage gets made, that's where like this book is where that comes from because this book like completely blew the lid off on all that. And that really wasn't like the biggest part of the book. Like a big part of the book was like the horrid working conditions these people were in, but they were like, no, dude, it's all about sausage. That's what this book is about. It was another one of like those complete like misses that people have, where they just like completely miss the point of the book. It was like it was mostly about like because the way the sausage would get made is they just throw everything in there, and sometimes like a dude would fall in the sausage machine, and they just be like, "Fuck it, he's part of the sausage now, dude. I got to maximize these profits," and so that's where that comes from. And snake oil was also popular in Britain in the 1700s as a cure for joint pain and skin diseases. And this is one of those things where it's like if you're making like a medicine in Britain, it's got to be able to cure skin diseases because those fucking people, like the Irish, the British, like those people that live on like those rainy fucking islands all the time, they're covered in fucking skin diseases. They got shit you ain't even heard of. They got mega psoriasis like all over their fucking skin. Like that shit, they basically are snakes. Like their skin is like constantly like flaking off and shedding and shit like that. And so they called it like viper oil and shit like that. I swear to fucking God, this cat is pissing me off. And so John D. Rockefeller's dad literally sold snake oil. And if you don't know who John D. Rockefeller is, he was like one of the robber barons, you know? It's like him, Vanderbilt, and Carnegie were like the three big like barons of the golden age. And so his dad sold literal snake oil. And another fun fact about John D. Rockefeller is he is responsible for the modern state of medicine basically in the world. When you hear about like petromedicine or like petrochemicals being used in medicine, he was like an oil magnate, right? He was the guy who started Standard Oil, which was like the first monopoly that was broken up by the United States. And so he like was like, oil is actually medicine. That we figured it out. And so like the entire state of medicine now is just based off this dude who was a fucking oil guy. So I don't know. I just had to throw that in there. And so now we're on to the snake oil controversy, dude. What happened to snake oil? Why can I not go to fucking Walgreens and get a bottle of snake oil? Well, here's why. So it is believed that most of the snake oil in America and Britain was just like mineral oil or like other types of oil with just like a few little things thrown in there. Like they weren't milking the snakes or whatever the fuck like the Chinese did. They were just like this fucking cat just closed the window. I swear to God, if it's not recording, I am going to be so pissed. I might have to stop the recording and kick him out for a little bit. All right, I just kicked that fucking cat out. If you hear screaming, it's the cat. All right, it's not it's not a woman I kidnapped. It's the fucking cat. The way I talk, you might imagine, I've admitted to being an incel probably 8 times already this episode. So you might think it's a woman that I kidnapped to be like, you pieces of shit ruined my life. It's not. It's a fucking cat just out there screaming like a schizophrenic. But anyway, so most of the oil in England and Britain, in Britain and America was like fake. They were just like whatever the fuck they could get that like seemed like oil. They would just pour it in a bottle and be like, "That's a snake oil. See, it'll help you. It'll cure all your ailments. Is your wife being a bitch? Shove a bunch of snake oil down her throat." And so that's most of the oil there. It was fake. It was some counterfeit oil. And so that already people were pissed about. They were like, "You're telling me this really didn't come from a snake, dude? No, it'll never be smooth and slithery, slithery like a snake." And so mineral oil is a laxative because my parents have like this bottle of mineral oil. I swear to God, it must be from like the Bush administration in our house still. And every once in a while, when I'm feeling backed up, when I'm like, I know there's a snake inside of it, I'll fucking drink the mineral oil just like a little bit, and it helps the shit slide out a little bit easier. And so they were basically just drinking laxatives. And I've talked about this before, but like old medicine, like all old medicine was like, especially like Western medicine and like Britain and shit like that, it was just laxatives. Like when Lewis and Clark went across the country, like the main medicine that they brought with them was just like this incredibly powerful laxative. They brought like thousands of pills of this laxative with them on their journey across the country. And so all old medicine was in like the West, it was just laxatives. They were like all the diseases live in your poop, dude. Poop is stinky, poop is bad. Get the poop out of your body. And so that's how they were doing science and medicine back then. And in 1906, like I said, the Clean Food and Drug Act was passed, and the Bureau of Chemistry was established. And the Bureau of Chemistry later became the FDA. So the FDA is just the Bureau of Chemistry. It's the same thing, just a name change in there. So Clark Stanley, all right, he was known as the Rattlesnake King and sold oil as a topical solution. So you just rub it on your skin. It wasn't like traditional snake oil. I don't know how the Chinese do it. I don't know if they're drinking it because in Red Dead Redemption 2, they have snake oil and you can like drink it and it gives you like the power to do the dead eye or whatever the fuck. I don't know if the Chinese were drinking it. I didn't do that much research into it, but this guy was selling it as like an ointment. He was like, rub it on your skin and you'll be okay. And so that's that's what this guy Clark Stanley was doing. The Rattlesnake King. He was selling the oil. He's like, rub it all over your skin. It's gonna make it nice and smooth. You can jerk off with it too. I imagine there were a few people that were like, this is nice and silky smooth, dude, because that's how mineral oil works, right? It like when you're constipated, it like coats your intestines with the mineral oil so that like the shit can slide out easier. And so I imagine a few people did because it's like a very silky smooth. I imagine a few people were like, my dick needs my dick is feeling it's I've got some joint pain in my dick, you know what I mean? Let me see what's up with this. I do imagine that there was at least one or two people that tried that out. You know what I mean? Like Diddy Diddy back in the day, he definitely would have been using the snake oil at his parties. And so he sold it as like a lotion basically. And the FDA tested Stanley's oil and found it to contain mineral oil, beef tallow, like beef fat, capsaicin, which is like the spicy chemical. It's like the thing that makes pepper spicy. Turpentine, which is like the solution that they use to like strip paint off of boats or whatever, and camphor. And what camphor is, it's like it's just like a thing that smells good. That's all that is. And so turpentine is incredibly poisonous. And I do think that they were drinking snake oil, right? Because in order to get those omega-3s into your body, like you have to like drink it, right? Like when you take a fish oil pill, you're ingesting it. And so, and so I imagine a few people were sipping on the turpentine a little bit, but there wasn't a whole ton in there. It was mostly just mineral oil. I think you put the turpentine in there just as like a smell. It was like fucking these morons. They don't fucking know anything. I'll just put this thing that smells good in there. And so they found that shit out and they were like, what do you think happened to this guy? This is 1916 when this trial happened. Do you think he was like hung? Do you think he was just quartered and drawn? No, he was fined $20 by the federal government, which is equivalent to $578 today. So I imagine he just kept doing what he was doing. I imagine he just didn't stop. He was like, I make that in a fucking day. It's like what they do to these companies in like modern times, right? Like the Exxon oil spill. They like, or like the fucking, there was like that whole lawsuit about Oxycontin when they said Oxycontin was non-addictive. And then the fucking government was like, no, you're selling these people heroin. And they fined them like $10 billion or whatever, which wasn't even like a fraction of what they made from selling Oxycontin. And so they've been doing that since the beginning of time. Snake oil was sold using confidence tricks, which is just it's like a scam, right? It's just telling people it works and like being confident enough to trick them. And like scams, I found out like it just plays on emotions. That's like the whole point of a scam. And they also used fake testimonials, right? So they'd have like this dude with like roll up to a town, you know what I mean, in like a covered wagon with his freak show. Probably, I imagine most snake oil salesmen also had like a few freaks that they traveled with, just in case the town didn't buy into the whole snake oil thing. They could be like, all right, I can still turn a profit if I just like parade around these freaks around this town. And so yeah, they'd also have like dudes in the wagons too, and then they'd like hide in the crowd and be like, "I used snake oil. The snake oil cured my dementia or whatever the fuck they had, you know, got all the evil ghosts and demons out of my body. It scared it off. The snake it did." So they'd use fake testimonials and basically just be like, "It works." That's all they did is they like narrow their eyes and be like, "It works." And I was thinking of I recently watched the Theranos documentary and I was like, that was basically snake oil. You know, people are always like, oh, I'd never fall for that shit. How do people back in the day fall for that shit? That's so fucking stupid. I do have a modern example of snake oil right here. It's called Theranos. And Theranos was a blood testing company founded by Elizabeth Holmes. And this fucking lady, Elizabeth Holmes, if you don't know who Elizabeth Holmes is, look her up. She is insane. She is out of her mind. She like, she like has like a fake voice. She like does a fake voice. It doesn't even, it's like deep, but it's not like manly deep. It's like, my name is Elizabeth Holmes. How are you guys doing? I can't do it though. It's like a chick just doing like that deep, like guttural voice from like the back of your throat. She kind of sounds transgender. That's kind of exactly what it is. She sounds like a bit of a Caitlyn Jenner, not a Hunter Schafer, dude. Not my beautiful queen, but she does sound a little bit trans. She might start playing volleyball against middle schoolers because she does sound incredibly trans. And Holmes dropped out of Stanford at 19 to start her own company. She didn't know what kind of she wanted to like something to do with tech and like biomedical as well. And Stanford Stanford is like the tech place. Like it's right next to like Silicon Valley where like Facebook and all that fucking shit was started. And so she dropped out. I think there's like a few aerospace companies there and shit like that. But it's Silicon Valley. It's tech. That's all you need to know about Stanford. And she would meet with this lady named Phyllis Gardner did. And you guys have to watch this documentary. It's on HBO. And this lady, Elizabeth Holmes is the lady I'm talking about right now. She was, I mean, so clearly not only out of her mind, but like clearly lying. She clearly had no fucking idea what she was talking about in any regards to this thing, right? She dropped out at 19 and then she started a blood testing company, right? It's not like Mark Zuckerberg. Like Mark Zuckerberg started Facebook. Facebook is just a place where like grandmas go to be like, there's too many Mexicans, right? It's just a dumb, simple thing that you can do. Even like Microsoft. Microsoft is like it's just computers. It's like yeah, he did like change the world with the computers and shit like that, but it's just computers, right? Like no one blood testing is like seeing whether or not you are going to die. Like that's what blood testing is. And this lady dropped that at 19 to be like with no I don't even know what she fucking her major was when she was in. She dropped out after her first fucking year, maybe her first semester of college. So, and she's clearly not that smart either. I don't know how the fuck she got into Stanford. She is very well connected. There is a bit of a conspiracy going on here that I might have to do some more research into, but she's very well connected. That's how I imagine she got into Stanford, though. And so she talked to this lady, Phyllis Gardner, who was a professor, or I think she might still be a professor of medicine at Stanford. And she was like famous for like giving advice regarding medicine and business. Like there's like a few biomedical companies that like she fucking like basically helped get off the ground just by telling these people what to do. She's like a business guru, a business genius, especially within the world of medicine. And so Elizabeth Holmes would meet with her. And this lady is a down ass bitch, dude. Phyllis Gardner, she's the fucking goat, man. When she was meeting with her, and everyone talks about how like everyone fell for Elizabeth Holmes tricks. I think they knew it was a scam, but they were like, "Fuck it, I'm gonna get my money while the scam's happening." Though it was a bit of a Marshawn Lynch thing. Like I'm gonna get got, I'm gonna get more, I'm gonna get mine more than I get got. Though I feel like that was like that was like the ethos surrounding fucking Elizabeth Holmes and Theranos. And Theranos, by the way, is just a combination of the words therapy and diagnostics, which is so fucking funny because they didn't do therapy. They didn't do like blood therapy or gene therapy or anything like that. It was literally just supposed to be, even in her fucking insane imagination, all it was supposed to be was a blood testing company, like a diagnostics I don't know why she combined therapy with that. But she would go to this lady, and this lady was like, you're out of your fucking mind. And the first idea she went to her with, that Elizabeth Holmes went to Phyllis Gardner with, was she would make like a patch that would detect skin diseases and administer antibiotics. It's physically impossible to do this, and Gardner told her that. She's like, that's not how antibiotics that's not how antibiotics work at all. Because in order for antibiotics to work, it needs to be like a regimen, right? Like you can't just and it needs to be like very, very large doses. I don't know why it just has to be that way. You have to take large doses over like a period of time, right? Like even if it's just like a week or a couple days, you still need to take large doses over a period of time. And this lady was like, "Yeah, Elizabeth, that's not how this works. Like this was supposed to be if like your dad's ever like tried to quit smoking before, and you've seen him with like those topical nicotine pouches. That's what this is supposed to be." And this lady, Phyllis Gardner, was like, "No, that's not how any of this works." And Elizabeth Holmes kept fucking bothering her. And she annoyed her so much that fucking she just dumped her off on this guy named what's his name? Channing Robertson. And so she was just like, I'm fucking done with this. And so Channing Robertson is a chemical engineer, and I guess he was also one of those guys that like helped get businesses off the ground, but he wasn't a Phyllis Gardner. I'll say that much. He wasn't the goat like that. And this this lady, she just knew she was lying from the beginning. Like everyone else, like Obama met with Elizabeth Holmes to like look into her research and be like, wow, you're gonna fucking change the world with this or whatever the fuck. And Phyllis Gardner was like, from the beginning, when like all these super powerful people were meeting with her, all the investors, all this shit like that, like when the company peaked at like it was worth $10 billion. She was like, no, it's not worth $10 billion because it's completely made up and doesn't work at all. Phyllis Gardner, man, she's the man. She cut that shit early. And so she met with her and she was like, yeah, this is clearly out of her mind. Dumped him off on Channing Robertson. And Robertson and Holmes would go on to like basically found the company together. Like she technically founded, like Elizabeth Holmes technically founded the company, but Robertson was right there with her, and he like led like I think the research team, and they founded it in 2003. And so you hear that and you're like, okay, well she's trying to like revolutionize blood testing. And the way she was trying to do it was using this machine called the Edison. And it was supposed to be a machine about the size of a microwave that could test for like hundreds and hundreds of blood diseases using only a few drops of blood. And traditional blood testing takes like these big old vials. I'm talking like pints of blood. That's how much it takes to be able to do like traditional blood testing. She was like, no, it's only going to take a few drops, and we're just going to put it in this tiny machine. And the traditional blood testing, you need those big vials, and you need like tons of like huge fucking machines to be able to do the blood testing. And so she was just like, I'm going to change the world. I'm going to do it. And so Holmes, she dressed like Steve Jobs and acted like a mixture of Elon and Zuckerberg. I feel like originally she was just a pure Zuck. You know what I mean? That's She was just a straight up Zuckerberg doing the whole Zuck thing. And she, she did the voice. She like never blinked. That was like her big thing. She Everyone was like, "Yeah, I don't know. I trust her. She just doesn't ever blink." And so, but she did do a little bit of the Elon shit where she was like, "Yeah, I say fuck. What's the big deal, huh? Guys aren't. I'm a woman, all right. I'm a woman in business, and I can say fuck." And that's probably another reason why no one caught on to this scam sooner is because it was just a bunch of women being like, "Wow, wow, she's gonna change the world. She's changing the world for women." And this happens a lot where women just like completely buy into whatever movement's happening because they're like, I don't know, they feel like they're oppressed or or whatever. That's what the incel movement is too. So you can't talk too much shit as a guy because the same thing is happening with dudes. But like, I imagine that the scam it maybe went on like a little bit further, just like a little bit, just because it was like all women buying into this complete and utter bullshit. And so she did act like a little bit of an Elon, a little bit of a Zuck. And a machine like the Edison, it could be like possible. You could theoretically do that, but it's not. It would take like years and years and years of research. And she was like, no. I think it was they started like getting them in Walgreens, right? Like Walgreens bought into this whole scam. They were like, oh fuck yeah, let's do this. And the thing about the blood testing is like it would be completely independent, right? So you would go to this place, they extract the blood, right? Like it's just like a little finger prick, and they'd like take a few drops of blood from you, put it in this machine, and you would get the test results back. But the thing is, most people have no idea like how to read blood test results. Like it's fairly, and they're testing for hundreds of diseases, right? Like I imagine like a significant number of them are like you have it or you don't, but other shit like being pre-diet, like no one knows. No one knows how to like read that shit. Like that's one of the actual purposes of medical school is like learning how to read those papers and shit like that, like the testing things. And so and so basically everyone who got these tests back, they were complete and utter bullshit. They didn't work at all. It couldn't tell you whether you had a disease or not. They didn't even know how to read it. So I mean it's kind of no harm, no foul there. So because it's even if they did it like even if they got it back and like the tests were 100% accurate, they still wouldn't know how to read the fucking paper. Like the thing that has all the diseases and like your blood sugar level and your testosterone, whatever the fuck they were doing there. And so yeah, she just lied about it. She was just like, yeah, it works. After like not even 3 years of research and development, she was like, yeah, it 100% worked. And so during the documentary that I was watching, they were like, yeah, it didn't work at all. And so we bought like the traditional machines to like test it out, but we also used the Edison a little bit because it like kind of worked, but it also didn't at all. Like it could like administer like the chemicals you need to like you so the way it works, the way blood testing works, from what I understand, is like you put a chemical in there and then it like kind of tells you what's going on. That's like that's like the most basic way that I can explain it, and that's the way I understand it. And so it kind of like worked a little bit, but like not really at all. And so they bought these traditional blood testing machines, and they would just take the vials of blood anyway. So it did not work at all, and it was wildly inaccurate and barely tested for any diseases. Like any of the ones that it could test for, those were also inaccurate, and so it just didn't work at all. Most of the blood work at Theranos was done, like I said, on traditional machines. And Holmes was sentenced to 11 years. What do you think she got sentenced for? What do you think she got convicted of? Do you think she was convicted of maybe killing a few people? Making people make completely incorrect medical decisions? No, she was sentenced to 11 years for investor fraud. And she'll get out in 2032. So hashtag free home. She ain't doing nothing. Free her till it's backwards, man. She ain't doing nothing. The cops planted that on her. The cops planted it on her. And another thing about Elizabeth Holmes is like Henry Kissinger, who used to be the Secretary of State for the United States. He was like a complete piece of shit like in his life. He was like a horrible fucking dude. He was a major investor in this company. And so she was like very well connected with like the federal government. And so yeah, that's my example of a modern snake oil salesman. Just a complete liar like that. I know this episode is pretty short it's also a day late, but I got fucking shit to do. So, and I already talked about the only thing that happened to me probably for the entire summer. That schizophrenic lady having a meltdown. But I hope you have a good day, good week, good year, good life. And I will see you guys on Wednesday or Thursday. I can't decide yet. If I keep doing the episodes on Monday, then I'll move the current events to Thursday. But I'll see you then, and I hope you have a good time. All right, peace.